Yes. So what I see on that guy is when he shuts down, you're having to retreat to get his feet to move. We don't want to have to retreat to get his feet to move. So like right there, as you're moving that around, there you go. So this is what's going to change. We're using a lead rope. There we go. Now bar him for 1 second. So we're using a lead rope overhand on his dullest part. Big dude. Yeah. So we're going to come here. So watch. Ideally, it's the same thing that's happening with the lead rope, but he's saying, nah, I don't really respect it that much. So the only thing that's changed is he respects the crop more than he respects the lead rope. And now I'm driving him forward versus switching with him. You were taking a step backwards, a step back, and you're kind of losing ground to him versus driving him forward and around you. Now, the only place my feet move is forward if they have to move. And that crop allows me to go from up here where you were touching on him was his butt. That's the least sensitive part of him. I'm going underneath him to that crop. So I get to talk quietly and get a lot of action. You were talking loudly and getting very little response from him. So a lot of you guys, you say, well, why didn't you show us about a crop earlier? With great power comes great responsibility. Until you're a boot camper, you probably don't need to have a crop in your hands. Until you're a boot camper, you probably don't need a set of spurs on. It's not because spurs and crops are bad, but if you don't understand how the horse works, how the workings of a horse works, well, then you don't need more pressure. You need more understanding. Then once you have the understanding of how it works, then the pressure will never get you into trouble. But what happens is people aren't getting the response they want out of the horse because they don't have the understanding of how the horse works. And now they're adding more pressure. They're getting a bigger bridle. They're getting a tie down. They're getting a crop. They're getting a set of spurs because it's not working. That is a recipe for disaster because now you're just magnifying something that they already don't understand or don't respect. That could be a problem. So right here, this young lady, look how she's walking quietly, carrying a big stick. Big old horse, moving lightly and easily. All right, now reach over his face, switch hands. Reach over his face, grab the other rein, switch the crop to your other hand, and bring the crop to him. See how you retreated there? I would like you to, when you make that switch, there you go. When you make that switch here, all right, we kind of take the pressure out, put the crop here, and we move. And when we're gonna switch, we're on the wrong side here. Watch how I switch this hand. He's there. My feet don't move, and then that crop starts coming. Does that make sense? Yeah. Now I'm gonna switch again. I switch the crop to the other side first. I make the switch with my hands before I start adding the pressure. That way I can really see, does that horse respect me or not? What I mean by that, if you start retreating to make it work, you can't tell if he respects you because you got out of his way before he can make the wrong decision. I'm standing right in front of him, cropping on that side. Well, he can make the right decision and step around me, or he can make the wrong decision and try to step into me, but he won't like the repercussion of that because I'm gonna lock up this hand that's in front of him and do that right there, but still pressure the side of him to go around me. All right, so I want you to do the same thing. Standing right here, okay, and right here. Okay, now you're gonna switch hands so the crop goes to your left hand. There you go. You're gonna reach over and grab here. Now send him towards me. Show him the crop from the side. Turn the crop over in your hand. It should be coming out. There we go. There we go. Nice, nice. Now stand your ground in one place. Just pivot. Now switch hands. Quietly put the crop in your other hand. Grab the other rein. Exactly. Now bring the crop to this side. Now tell him to go around you. Stand your ground. Beautiful, beautiful. Guys, if you're in the center of the bubble, the easiest place if I change directions is to walk over the cone. The easiest place to go is through the middle of a circle. If I'm respectful of the cone, say that the cone has electricity on it and I don't want to touch it, you can tell me to change directions and I'm going to change directions and step away from it. Change directions, I'll cross over even though it's harder and step away because I respect the cone. If I do not respect what's in the middle of the circle, it's easier just to walk right through the middle. So this is a great indicator of how respectful our horse is. Well, we would like to have a yes sir, yes ma'am mentality no matter what goes on whenever we swing our leg over their back. is the idea. So you changing directions and standing your ground tells you a lot about how your horse feels about you. When I say horses are very honorable creatures and they'll tell you the truth if you ask them the question, you have to ask them the question. Do you see the difference there, young lady? Does that make sense? There you go. And if he pushes on you, extend your arm up between you and his face. There we go. There we go. Nice. So once he's giving you his face, try not to hold the tension on it. So once we have him going here, we want him to find a sweet spot. We want him to find a sweet spot where there's next to no tension. And it's that release that's going to allow you to ride him on a loose rein. Okay. It's going to be that release that's going to get that horse where you don't have to hold them the whole time. All right, let's see. Send her forward. Step in behind that stirrup and extend your arm off to the left. There we go. There we go. Now we're leading instead of pushing into it. You were getting side pass the same way Miss Diane was getting side pass on her horse. She was just pushing such a deep leg yield. You know, she was pushing into the shoulder so much that that horse was just going from one side of the ring to the other. So it's the same thing that you were seeing under saddle. The more forward we ask of her, the more forward we're going to get out of her. Nice. All right, so here we've kind of lost we've got the circle going pretty decent. We're going to come right here. Ladies, I'm going to need 2 clips, wherever my minions are. Okay, I'll take that. Anybody else need a clip? All right, we'll get you a clip as well. All right, so this goes up here. Now, watch whenever I send her around me. Awesome. Look how little bend that I'm getting out of her. You're thinking that you really have to push to the shoulder, which is correct, but you have a horse that shoulder yields so well that if you put your face on the shoulder, she's just gonna blow sideways because she gives that well. So now we have to do less because she's giving more. The more they give, the less we ask. The better they give, the less we ask. So it's important that we understand that equation. Okay, she's going in the circle. I want her to step over. Let's say I want her to go forward over to that corner. I'm looking at that corner. I'm driving at that corner. She's giving so easily that it's very easy for me to guide her there. So when you have a horse that guides that easily, well, you got to watch out because you will over-guide them very easily. Right? So you had her bent up to her shoulder, so then she's giving you a side pass. Oh, yep, I can't go forward. I'm going to step sideways. Everybody with me? The more your horse gives, the less you ask. A lot of times on good show horses, that's where we run into trouble, is that people over-ask. They get a ex-show horse, they get an ex-reiner, they get an ex-cutter because they think, wow, this horse is going to be so trained. It is trained. But it's trained to move off of this, to move off of a leg, to move off of a cheek, to move off of a thigh moving. Well, now you get on there and you're like, hey, oh, hot diggity dog, it's going to give you so much. Or you get up, the first time I went to ride for charity reining horses, I was like, I need to go ride me some real reining horses so I understand. I remember I'm cantering them around like, this is not hard. I could be a reining trainer. It's easy. It's fine. I'm going circles. I'm going to big fast. I'm thinking, this horse ain't too fast. And I'm pushing and it's going, and I'm pushing and it's going. Easy. Like, all right, go down the rundown. Rundown is you make a corner, and then you run down and you slide. Everything was fine. The second I turned, that joker hit the jets, and I wasn't prepared, so it set me back. Well, when it set me back, that horse like, oh, stop. Boom, it sits down on his pockets. I'm like, no. So that set me forward. I sat forward, I spurred him, and he took off again. And how do you make this thing stop? Oh my gosh, it took me 3/4 of the arena to get the horse shut down and stop. Because every time my weight would get forward, my spurs would grab a hold of him. Then he would go, yeet, and he would sit me back. Well, he had already surged and took 2 or 3 steps, and he's like, oh, stop. And oh my gosh, it took me like 3 horses before I got the understanding of, okay, how I need to sit, how I need to be prepared. Same thing with spinning. I almost fell off at a standstill. He said, okay, go ahead and ask that horse to spin. You're going to take your leg off, and you're going to touch it with the right rein, and you're going to click. Okay. Took my leg. This was me taking my leg off. Took my leg off, touched it with the rein, and when that sound came out of my mouth, that joker took off this way, got me sat on the wrong side. I grabbed the holder with my leg to try to hold on. It stopped and spun back the other way. I was like, oh, oh, oh. So when he meant take the leg off, he meant kick that leg forward and be ready for the G-forces. Sit back and prop up against that stirrup because the G-forces are going to suck you forward towards the horse's head. But he didn't say any of that. He was just like, oh, take a leg off, click to it, touch it with a rein. You'll go. Oh, go I did. It took me 2 or 3 of them before I figured out how to sit. So it's the same thing. You guys are used to the horses not really giving, so then once you get them giving, then you got to lighten up on how much you ask. I stopped his horses probably 10 times before he told me, stop yelling. I'm not yelling. I would come down there and I'd say, oh, why you say it so loud? Sorry. Do it again. Do a roll back, come around, come down and run down. Ho. Mike, all you do is yell. What's wrong with you? I was like, oh, I didn't, is that yelling? That's not my yelling. I guess I was raised in a different family. Cubans are loud, you know. Okay, I come running. Ho. Why so much? Why, look what you're doing. Look how the horse, he only slid 20 feet. It's your fault. Okay, okay. Oh, look, just think it, Michael. Just think it. Okay. Too much. I'll say, oh, because they're so trained. They're so trained. You have to ask so little. It took me some doing. It took me a couple days before I really got it kind of competently figured out where the horse looked like they knew what they were doing again. I mean, they looked like they knew what they were doing the whole time, but me, ooh, very good job. All right.
Should I ask for more speed, more energy, or if she's doing it and paying attention?
I'm always game to pick up a crop and see what I've got. So if the horse, let's say the horse is kind of going through the motions and you want to know how they feel, if you pick up a crop and see what you got, you might not be happy with what you got.
That's very true.
Okay, so. And notice, you're gonna hold here, you're gonna stand directly in front of her. See how you're already on the side? Stand directly in front of her, and that crop, it comes out, there we go, and it starts coming to her shoulder. So it comes to her shoulder for the crop, there you go. That's it. Out of nowhere, spank the saddle with it. Just a loud noise. There we go. And that kind of tells you how much, like if you go, and they drag you, and they didn't get physically touched, you probably want to give them a little softer. There we go. Nice. All right, now push into that shoulder. Extend that hand forward. There we go, nice. Step left, step left. Yep. Well, same thing, because your horse is giving so well that to fix that is you can't go straight to her. She's giving too well. She's outrunning you. So you step out in front of her, and you can just walk her. You just walk her like a dog right over here. There you go. Don't get. So there's no reason if a crop comes to her, her butt should come your way. So if her butt comes your way, you light that back inside leg up. Exactly. You see the difference there? You walked out in front of her. Look how she was just able to walk that leg heel just soft and easy. This is really going to come in handy tomorrow whenever we work on those leg heels and work on starting them and the side passes and things like that. Switch hands. Nice. Bring it to her. There you go. All right, now get quiet and move those shoulders. Walk forward and to the right. There we go. There we go. So what you're going to find is your pressure is not the issue. I say again, your pressure is not the issue. The most advanced horse in the world, those reiners, most advanced horses you can hop on, everybody wears spurs. In dressage, spurs are glued to your boots. I mean, they're just like part of you. The most advanced obedient dogs, military dogs, and police dogs, they live with a black box on their neck. Okay? When you ask for the most, also, there's a correlation of the repercussion when you do wrong, right? So if you're a high money earner, when you mess up, you lose millions. Well, you know, somebody that's poor, you can mess up all you want to. You're not going to lose very much because you don't have very much to lose. But it's the same way with obedience dogs. When it's when they get the wrong answer, they get the shock. But this is the thing, they don't get the wrong answer very often because they're to that level. Well, it's the same way with your horse. In the beginning, the stakes aren't that high. Well, we're going to pop you on the butt with the lead rope. You get kicked by other horses. It's not that big of a deal. But by this stage, we should already start being able to point a crop at them, because under saddle, we want to be able to pick up a calf. If the worst thing that happens to them is they get kicked barefooted, well, then you tightening or loosening your calf isn't going to mean much to that horse. It's going to take a real sensitive horse for that to matter. It's not until the repercussion gets higher, gets sharper, that, oh, well, you're tightening up that calf and that other calf's coming off of them, that they think, ooh, I better go ahead and step over here. So there's a direct correlation of how much pressure we're using versus how sharp they are to listen. All right, guys. Anybody here want a flag? Flag? No? Everybody feel good with the flag? All right, well then let's mount up. There's a mounting block for anybody that needs or wants it. I like that saddle, Miss Maria.
Thank you.
Does everybody kind of understand that correlation between the higher the stakes, the more you pay attention, right?
Probably too soft compared to what I'm watching. You know, like I had her hand too.
Exactly. So we're asking too much. So it's the same reason whenever you're under saddle that you're thinking far corner, but you're looking at her so that doesn't give her direction, and then you grab her by the face, she's like dang near side passing because she's so soft. That's it. And there's nothing wrong. There is zero things wrong. You can't get a horse too soft. You just have to make sure that you work accordingly. You gonna cinch her up a little bit?
Me too. I don't see how you do that with her.
Oh, a lot of practice.
She's so round.
All right, first things first, guys. I just want you to flex, slide your, double up the reins in one hand, and let the other one slide down and find his face. So if you have both the reins here, there you go. So this hand moves off to the right, and that allows this hand to slide without, see how you wanted to leave your seat?
Yeah.
I want you to get in the habit of bringing the reins to you, come here. Bringing the reins to you, come here. So one hand kind of slides away from the center line that has double reins, and then the other hand is extended, slides down, you find their face, turn. Slides down, finds their face, turn. And what we're trying to do is build good muscle memory. If every time you flex, if every time you disengage, you're leaving the saddle to go get it whenever you're not in harm's way, when there's not a problem, when you're out there in that field and the quail pop up and your horse takes off running, you know what you're gonna do? You're gonna leave the saddle in the middle of your moment of distress. Sitting on your tailbone is your command post, is where you're gonna be confident and comfortable. So you wanna make sure that you develop that muscle memory. Very nice. Once you have that good to each side, we're going to do the exact same motion, but when you find her face, you're going to step in that stirrup and turn your head until you see her butt and pull her face around your leg towards her butt. And notice I said that in a very specific manner. When you find here, when you slide that hand down the rein, you're going to pull around your leg towards her butt. The reason I don't want you guys, there you go, look at it, look at his butt, look at his butt. There you go, keep pulling to the right. Keep pulling to the right. Let go of some of that left rein. Okay. There you go. We got to make sure, there you go. Now look at his butt and pull this way. Bump, bump, bump. There we go, there we go. Look at that bump. And when he lays on you, bump, bump, bump. There we go, okay. Right? Because if he feels contact here, then the butt doesn't give it, he ends up backing up or doing something wonky. Right? So we got to make sure that when we turn that steering wheel that we're letting go of this rein. When I say slide the hands up until you find them, whenever you slide the reins and find his face, this hand comes back to center. There we, exactly. You saw how that free hand, once you found this, as soon as I slide my hand down the reins and I find their face, this hand comes back to their withers, which doesn't activate that other rein. There you go. Left hand towards his ears a little bit more. There you go, exactly. There we go. Guys, as simple as that is, that's the ace in your hole, right? That's ultimately what makes the horse make the right decision, is them knowing factually, I have your face, I have your butt. If you do something wrong, I'm gonna fold you up like a lawn chair and I'm gonna redirect you. This is ultimately what gives us the confidence to ask until they make a decision. And you'll hear me say that as we go through the week. You'll hear me say, hey, ask until they make a decision. Ask until they make a decision. When we're asking for a spin, when we're asking for a leg yield, when we're asking them to go over a scary obstacle, when we're asking them to drive into so many of these things, we'll put them on a loose rein and we'll say, do it. Now, they make the wrong decision, let's say. They don't go through the scary gate, they take a left. Okay, you made the wrong decision, no big deal. Face, butt, face up, make a decision. Oh, they go off to the right, face, butt, face up, make it. Okay, left didn't work, right didn't work, let me go forward. Very quickly, since you had a physical repercussion, which is they're facing their butt and they're making their own decisions, it becomes their idea to go through the scary obstacle. It becomes their idea to cross the water. It becomes their idea to go into the herd of horses and push the soccer ball out. It becomes their idea, oh, picking my head up didn't work, doing this didn't work, doing that didn't work. When I stepped over with my shoulders, I got to release. You know what? The next time you put your right leg on me, I'm going to step over. All these things come down from this right here. Knowing factually, for a fact, with no doubt or hesitation in your mind, if something goes wrong, I just got to face and move her butt. That's where my confidence is derived from. Everything that I work on a horse, every pound horse you see, every Mustang that passes through here, every big warm blood, every tough horse, what makes me look confident riding is the fact in the back of my mind I know, hey, if it goes wrong, I'm just going to grab this horse, take his butt away from him, and try again. Grab his face, move his butt, and try again. Very quickly, that horse is going to stop trying to make his own decisions because he's going to want to go where I want him to go. Is it just in my mind, or is this thing glitching out some? Okay, because sometimes you guys, yeah. Oh man, look at that. All right, guys, next thing up is we are going to do a spiral. So put the horse on a loose rein. I want you to have the horse by center rein, by the very end of the rein, like Miss Barb has there. Walk your horse off. As your horse starts walking, slide a hand down and start circling that horse. When you have that horse walking nice and quiet in a circle, I want with that extended inside hand, I want it to lock into your knee. And then I want you to lean back and stop them with the outside rein. There you go. Pulsate your outside hand, Miss Maria. That's it. All right, so you saw how he got a little stuck straight? Whenever you're bending him, lower that inside hand and lock it in as low on your leg as possible. So you guys are boot campers. I don't show this usually in clinics and stuff, but I'm going to show you guys some rigging, some side reins, some things I learned in dressage in Spain, some things I learned from my father that have to do with the horse being basically having the conversation with themselves. It works so beneficial because it's so clear, and every single time the release comes from the same place. Well, under saddle, we can do a lot of the same things. The way I gather up the rein is a lot like a draw rein. The way that I'll lock a hand into a leg or a thigh or a knee, it's the same thing. Every single time I do that, number one, to the horse, I feel stronger because this is not moving. That same hand up here, they pull and get, you know, an inch of movement, 2 inches of movement. They feel like they can play with that. Here, it feels like they run into a wall. So that's beneficial. The next thing is if every single time I'm looking to put my hand in the exact same place, how pattern is that? How consistent is that? We want to have consistent horses. We have to be consistent. Before you can control the beast underneath you, you have to control the beast within you. You have to be consistent for the horse to be consistent. There you go. There we go. You see how you have a bent inside hand? I would like you to extend it and lower it. Not that she's not doing, she's doing perfect, but it will help get your horse's heads even lower. Something as different as this, your hand being here versus your hand being here, that could be the difference of your head, your horse truly dropping their head and finding that relaxation, and your horse being kind of half cocked. The difference of grabbing the horse by the nose, whenever you're doing first grade versus grabbing by the lead rope, could be the difference of your horse kind of going through the motions, just giving left and going forward, and your horse dropping his head and really turning off the motor, turning off the adrenaline, being relaxed. Very nice, Miss Maria. Much better. All right, the next thing that I want to see, everybody feel pretty confident with that? have a good understanding, you can pick apart a horse's resistance. You can have a fussy horse who doesn't want to deal, and that exercise by itself, you could just pick a horse apart and pick a horse apart and pick a horse. I've come into clinics like there's no way we're turning the horse's head. Like it's just not going to give. And that by itself, just pick them apart. Next thing you know, you look up 20 minutes down the road, and that horse is like, I'm so sorry. I will give you my face. I will give. I'm sorry. I didn't mean it. That's kind of what we're looking for. My favorite softening exercise right there is the spiral. The next thing I want to do, grab center rein again, and I want you to walk that horse, slide that inside hand down, ask that horse to go in a circle. When you have that horse nice and bent, that inside hands here where they can see it to the inside, that inside leg's off of them, they're walking forward in a circle. I want you to take your outside leg and rein off of them, put that inside hand closer to their shoulder until you feel their front legs go over. If you do not know if the horse crossed over in the front or not, just know this. If the horse's nose is tipped to the inside and they're circling, if the circle gets bigger, it had to be their shoulder. There's no other way for the circle to get bigger than their front feet going outward. There's no other way. So if you have, funny things can happen if the horse's nose is straighter to the outside, but if you have that horse's nose tipped to the inside, you're going in a circle and you do this, when that circle gets a hair bigger, you know they stepped over. But you got to get forward first. So every time the feet stop, go forward again. Motion over maneuver. And I say stick that outside hand way out to the side to make sure that that outside leg and outside rein come off of your horse. And if your horse tries to look outward, open and close that hand. There you go. So right there, nice, nice. If they try to lay on that inside hand, open and close it where that friction makes them think, ooh, I need to stay off of it. There we go. There we go. Just like that. Very nice. Every time that horse even thinks about shutting down, drive forward again.
Have a little stickiness there.
Yep, absolutely. So what we might do is we might lower this and then grab by the nose. And now, whenever he grabs, there we go. You got to go forward and bend first, then look for it. But already have him kind of in an obligated position. There we go. So traditional training is traditionally we put the horse straight and we work from there. That's the difference between, really, the biggest difference between dressage and reining is reining two things. They got them soft left and right. They really got them off center. Next thing, that loose rein. So when we have Melba there so obligated to the side, she's a lot less likely to fuss versus if we have her in a straight line where she's strong. So it's a lot of the same maneuvers between reining and dressage, the same maneuvers, the same leg yields, the same half pass, the same move in the butt, because it's just a horse, it's the same thing. The difference is a 3-year-old baby futurity reiner has all those movements, and in dressage, we haven't even thought about doing these movements with our 3-year-old. Haven't even processed it, because really it takes a long time for them to build up. It's not necessarily, it's not that they're not strong enough. If you give those same Andalusians, if you give those same warm bloods to a fraternity reiner that doesn't know any other way of training, at 3 years old, they're gonna have the same movement. It's the clarity in which they're asking. They're getting the horse obligated, they're getting the horse so soft and easy here where they can't argue. It's the same thing that happened in my career growing up. From the very day one, we gave the horse 2 hands. We argued 2 hands. Well, then there was a lot of times that the horse was confused because we're driving him forward, but not that much forward. So we're putting our legs on him, we're kissing to him, we're saying, go forward, but then our hands are saying, but not that forward. When I'm colt starting now, when I'm working Western, I say go forward, and they're on a complete loop. There's nobody stopping them in front. Go ahead. So there's a lot less combustibility. There's a lot. So there we go, right there. You're looking at your horse. Look where you want to go, and keep driving that horse forward. There we go. See how you picking your chin up and pointing your belly button where you want to go? That gets you going where you want. If you look at him, he kind of loses direction. There we go. There you go, Miss Wendy. Very nice. All right, who's gonna give me the prettiest ballerina? Ballerina, just, you already got the horse bent, move their butt, and once you get a couple steps out of their butt, you're disengaging, you're pivoting. Now you gotta think forward and over. There we go, now move her butt. There we go, now think forward and over. There we go. There we go. Now think butt and make it that obvious. I want to see your head switch from one to the other. There you go. So start with the butt. There we go. Get that horse really bent. Look at his butt. Look at his butt. Now send him forward and move him over to the rail. There we go. Forward, 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 forward. There we go. Nice. That's what I'm talking about. We stick that outside hand out. We could stick it out and forward if we're getting too much sideways. So sometimes I'll be coming around the circle and that horse is blowing out sideways because I'm pointing here. You'll see me point that hand up here and we'll get more forward. So just that little shift of that outside hand that we think doesn't matter because it's not touching their face. The difference versus here, we're driving that horse more forward here versus we're driving that horse over here to the side. Very nice. Everything that you're going to do is some combination of those things. I watched a story about how every hit song in the past 20 years is a combination of the same 4 chords. And then they play like 30 songs from the top list of billboards. And you're like, oh, it really is. These people ain't geniuses. It's the same 4 chords. You just switch it up until it sounds good. Horsemanship, we use big words because we didn't go to college. We use vertical flexion on diagonal and this and 3. We use all these words because we didn't go to college. I'm telling you. If it was complicated, these horses wouldn't figure it out. Everything that you plan to do that's going to make you feel like an accomplished horseman has to do with their head, their butt, or their shoulders, and it's that simple. It's those 3 combinations. That's all there is. You can't side pass without the shoulders. You can't spin without the shoulders. You can't give a half pass without the butt. Everything that you want to do, it has to do with the head, the butt, and the shoulders. And the reason I even include the head in there, and not just the butt and the shoulders, is because without the head, they can say no. So if you don't have their head, you go to ask and they say, I don't think I want to. If you don't have the head, then they can say no.
The little adjustment you did made a big difference.
Yes, yeah, a lot of times that's how it is. So she said, oh, that little adjustment, it sure made a big difference. We worked the whole, Miss Taylor over there, she was having a little issue with the gait. All we didn't do anything but switch bridles. Let's try something a little bit, shaped a little bit differently. Oh man, I used to hate that. I'd come to my father and be like, Dad, this stupid horse, it don't gait, it don't do this, it don't do that. Oh no? Okay. He'd go, he'd come back, he'd have a bit under his arm. She'll put this. And we had switched a bit out. I mean, I'm talking about like night and day, like on and off of a switch. The horse is like, yes sir, no problem. So many times it's how are we communicating what we want. If we have the horse's respect and all of you guys are to the place that the horse respects you, obviously, the last group was already to the place where the horses respect them, then it's just a matter of, okay, the horse respects us. Am I being clear on what I want? And a lot of times it's just the difference of hand here versus hand here. It's the difference of when I turn and take my leg off here. Yes, you did take the leg off. That's great. Turn that toe and look what it does to your belly button and your hips. So when I say take a leg off, we're coming around this, we're cantering and we're coming around this mounting block here. And I say, hey, turn the mounting block. And we take our leg off, but now the horse is going straight. And now we're pulling on his face. We're pulling on his face. Now we're looking at the horse. Look where you're going. Look where you're going. Look where you're going. We look. When we open that door and we point our toes this way, that opens our hips and the horse turns. My wife she was pregnant and she was riding her Mustang, which those 2 things don't cross. She was in the Mustang makeover when she got pregnant. And she's coming right around here. Power of the circle like this, which you guys are going to learn tomorrow. Power of the circle. She goes to turn the horse around the mounting block. I'm standing right over there where you are. And she goes like this. She looks. She takes the leg of the rein off. The horse took an extra step. That extra step forced her to look at the horse. And now she's jerking and pulling and snatching on this horse. Think in her mind, her brain's already like, oh, we're getting run away with. You know, you're on a green Mustang that has less than a week to ride. You're getting run away with. Do something. So her do something is pull harder and harder. And they are going at a high rate of speed towards that fence. And I'm over here, honey, look where you're going. Honey, look where you're going. Honey. About the 3rd time that I said it. Now, I don't know because I'm not a mind reader. Me to cuss me, the horse turned. She didn't crash into the fence. The exercise didn't stop. Everything just well, imagine whatever that word was, who knows. The horse did his job. She ate her words, and she didn't talk to me the rest of the session. But it was that simple that in that moment that all that was going on, she's banging here, but her belly button, her chest, her center, her hips, her legs, everything is telling that horse to go straight other than her hand. So 9/10 of the group is saying, hey, we're going this way. Well, then we're going this way. And the second it went from this, and now we have 10/10 of the group saying, hey, we're going this way. Well, now the group's going this way, we're going this way. So a lot of times we think that we're getting frustrated because we think we're so far away from success of what we want. A lot of times you're moving the reins up one, moving the halter down one, switching the bridle, moving our hand, taking our leg off. So be careful with those emotions. Be careful with letting the emotions get the better of you, because a lot of times, I mean, it's just a little switch or bop or crop or change away. Always keep that in mind. We're only one thought away from success. Right now, everybody here is one thought away from being a multimillionaire or billionaire. Everybody's one thought away. Like, all you got to do is come up with that thought, oh, and then act on it. Well,
Noticing and recognizing the little things, because I knew that she was pulling her head up, but I wasn't quite registering. And
gotcha.
Said,
yeah, so I see that little mare. The horse was going through the motions. Miss Melba over there was going through the motions. She was turning left, she was turning right, she was giving her nose to the inside. But what I noticed was she was doing this. She was going through motions, like she was going forward and taking left, but she was doing it with a sass. She was doing it with a marishness. At this stage, we can't go with that marishness. If we're going to ask for the next stage, the next level, you're at a place that you're going to ask her to do more complex things. There's no room for talkback. There needs to be understanding, constructive criticism. Hey, honey, that was great, but this time I want your hip to be one step further over. Okay, that canter departure was great, but this time I want less forward and more up. If I'm going to talk that specific, I have to have the horse they can't have rebuttals. They can't have talk back. We can kind of get away from making a trail horse or making an obstacle horse with a little sass because we know we have control of them. And they could be a little, because I'm asking for something that's so vague. Hey, go left, go right, go forward. Go left, go right, go forward. And they can kind of get away with being a little sassy or flicking the ear, switching the tail, or doing that. When you are asking for that next level to be a professional, I'm asking you, horse, to be a professional, to be a show horse, to be a performance horse. I need you 100% with me. I can't have any, this is not a dialogue. This is, yes, sir, yes, ma'am, I'll try. Yes, sir, yes, ma'am, I'll try. As long as you have that, you're going to progress. So you want to get better and better about noticing when your horse has a little sass, and when they come out, you say, you're looking a little sassy today, that you can nip it in the butt before you waste an hour and a half of your work. Right? Because if you go through multiple days of wasting an hour and a half of your work and you haven't progressed, you just put in 50 hours on a horse and there's not a lot of difference. If you would just nip that in the butt on day 1 or day 2 and say, hey, I ain't going to put up with that. And then in 2 weeks from now, when she wakes up on the wrong side of the base, okay, well now those 50 hours, you're leaps and bounds ahead of where you were. And a lot of people say, oh, it's just wet saddle pads, wet saddle. I know horses that are 17 years old, been ridden since they were 3. They suck to ride. Like, it's just not fun. There's nothing enjoyable about it. I get horses all the time that are in their 20s, and they are so wet saddle pads is not enough. It's not the quantity in which we practice. It's the quality in which we practice. You can get leaps and bounds working a time or 2 a month, and you can work every single day and have no progress, ultimately be going backwards, and you're putting in all kind of sweat. It's not about the sweat. It's about how are we working. So little things, you're absolutely right about noticing, she looks a little sassy today. Okay, let's make an adjustment. Let's go. We're at the lead rope. Let's go to the reins. Let's put the reins up on her nose, and let's get her crop. Ooh, yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. She shook her head once or twice, but we had the reins in a way that when she shook her head, I mean, I could hear the knots going over her nose, and I was